Every night, millions of people go to bed, grab their phone, and keep scrolling until sleep finally wins. But have you ever wondered, what did humans do before phones? Not before television, not before books, before all of it. When the sun disappeared, there was no electricity, no entertainment, and nothing but darkness. What did our ancestors do with those long, silent hours? The answer is far stranger than you might think, and it reveals something we've quietly lost. It begins with an unusual scientific expedition. In 2015, researchers traveled to remote communities in Tanzania, Namibia, and Bolivia, where people still live without electricity or artificial light. Their goal was simple: observe what happens after sunset when modern technology disappears. The researchers expected people to fall asleep soon after dark. They were completely wrong. Instead, people stayed awake for more than 3 hours after sunset. They gathered around fires, they talked, they laughed, they shared stories, and something remarkable happened around those flames. Modern neuroscience suggests that firelight places the brain in a unique state between full wakefulness and sleep. The constantly shifting glow holds attention without demanding it, allowing memories, imagination, and creativity to become unusually vivid. No smartphone, no television, no endless stream of notifications. Just flickering light, quiet conversation, and minds free to wander. For thousands of generations, this wasn't an occasional experience. It was every single night. But archaeologists kept asking one question: what were people actually doing during those hours? The answer didn't come from living communities. It came from caves. Deep inside prehistoric caves in France, researchers noticed something extraordinary. The famous paintings of horses, bison, and other animals weren't placed randomly. They were painted on curved walls and uneven rock surfaces where flickering firelight made them appear to move. A running bison, a breathing horse, a charging herd. Ancient humans weren't simply decorating cave walls. They had discovered something astonishing thousands of years before modern cinema. They had learned how to bring still images to life using nothing more than fire. But that discovery only led to an even bigger mystery. Some of these paintings were hidden in chambers so deep and narrow that reaching them required crawling through darkness for long distances. Why would anyone create breathtaking artwork in places almost no one would ever see? The answer may completely change how you think about the nights of our ancestors. The leading theory is both fascinating and unsettling. The people entering those hidden chambers were probably not ordinary members of the community. They were specialists, individuals who had spent years learning to enter altered states of consciousness. Today, we often call them shamans. Alone in the darkness, guided only by the flicker of a torch, they experienced vivid visions that felt incredibly real. Many archaeologists believe the paintings inside caves like Lascaux and Chauvet weren't simply works of art. They were records of those experiences. In a way, these caves became humanity's first galleries of imagination, places where people preserved stories, beliefs, and visions for future generations. But why were these experiences so important? The answer begins with something we rarely think about today. Ancient darkness was terrifying. Long before streetlights and houses, night belonged to predators. A single mistake could mean death. Every sound in the darkness demanded attention. Then humans mastered fire, and everything changed. Fire didn't just provide warmth or cook food. It created something our ancestors had never truly possessed before: time. For the first time, people could stay awake safely after sunset. Those extra hours became some of the most important in human history. Around the fire, people weren't hunting or gathering food. They were thinking, reflecting, imagining, and telling stories. Modern researchers believe firelight affects the brain in a unique way. Its gentle, unpredictable movement calms the mind while keeping it engaged, creating a state between full alertness and sleep, a mental space where imagination becomes unusually powerful. It's a feeling no glowing screen can truly reproduce. For thousands of generations, this was humanity's nightly ritual. As the flames danced, stories came alive. Legends were born. Knowledge passed from one generation to the next. Around those fires, humans weren't just sharing information. They were building culture itself. And that may have been one of the greatest turning points in our evolution. Because once people gathered every night to listen, remember, and imagine together, survival was no longer driven only by strength. It was driven by ideas. The fire that protected our ancestors from the darkness may also have transformed the human mind, turning ordinary evenings into the birthplace of creativity, belief, and civilization. But storytelling wasn't just entertainment. It changed the way human societies worked. And that's where the next discovery becomes even more surprising. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies noticed something remarkable. During the day, conversations were almost entirely practical. Where was the food? Who spotted animal tracks? What needed to be done tomorrow? But after sunset, everything changed. Around the fire, more than 80% of conversations became stories. Stories about ancestors, heroes, spirits, great hunts, acts of courage, and people who ignored the rules and paid the price. These weren't just bedtime stories. They were lessons hidden inside entertainment. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner found that these nightly stories helped teach cooperation, generosity, courage, and trust. Communities with strong storytelling traditions often showed greater social harmony and worked together more effectively. Long before schools existed, the campfire became humanity's first classroom. But fire gave us something even more valuable than stories. It helped reshape the human brain. Cooking made food easier to digest and unlocked far more calories than eating it raw. Those extra calories fueled our growing brains, while reducing the time people needed to spend searching for food. For the first time, humans had hours that weren't devoted to survival. Those hours were spent talking, creating, practicing, making music, and imagining entirely new worlds. In other words, fire didn't just help humans survive. It helped humans become human. But perhaps the most surprising discovery came from sleep itself. Today, most of us expect to sleep straight through the night. Our ancestors probably didn't. Evidence from traditional societies, historical records, and sleep research suggests that humans naturally slept in two separate phases. A first sleep, then an hour or two of quiet wakefulness, then a second sleep until morning. This period between the two sleeps was completely normal. People prayed, talked softly, reflected, or simply sat quietly while the fire burned low. Instead of rushing to fill every silent moment, they allowed their minds to wander. Modern psychologists believe this calm period helped the brain process memories, strengthen emotions, and connect ideas in ways that rarely happen during the busy hours of the day. It was a time when experience slowly became wisdom, But if this pattern was once so natural, why don't most of us experience it anymore? One experiment would reveal that our ancient sleep may never have disappeared at all. In the 1990s, psychiatrist Thomas Ware conducted an unusual experiment. He asked healthy volunteers to live without artificial light for an entire month. No phones, no televisions, no bright electric lights after sunset. Just darkness, candlelight, and whatever sleep their bodies naturally chose. Within a few weeks, something extraordinary happened. Every participant stopped sleeping in one long stretch. Without being told what to do, they all returned to the same two-phase sleep pattern that historians believe our ancestors once followed. But the biggest surprise came during the quiet hour between those two sleeps. Instead of feeling restless or anxious, participants described a deep sense of calm. Their thoughts slowed. Their minds became unusually clear. Blood tests even showed increased levels of prolactin, a hormone linked to relaxation and peaceful awareness. They weren't simply awake. They had entered a mental state that meditation practitioners spend years trying to achieve. And they reached it naturally, without apps, without techniques, without even trying. Maybe that's the real answer to the question we started with. What did ancient humans do instead of scrolling their phones at night? They gathered around a fire. They told stories that strengthened their communities. They reflected on the day. They allowed silence to do its work. Night wasn't empty. It was when the human mind connected memories, discovered meaning, and built culture. Today, the moment our minds begin to slow, we reach for a screen. The silence disappears. The stories are replaced by endless scrolling. And perhaps, without realizing it, we've traded one of humanity's oldest rituals for one of its newest habits. The cave paintings of Lascaux have survived for more than 30,000 years. The stories told around ancient fires shaped civilizations, traditions, and cultures across the world. Those quiet nights helped make us who we are. So tonight, before you unlock your phone one more time, ask yourself one question. Are you giving your mind what it evolved for, or just another screen to stare at?